Tamara said it like she was asking me to pick up milk, not like she was reaching into my ribs to pull something out by name. She called on a Tuesday afternoon when the sun was slanting through my kitchen blinds, turning every floating dust mote into gold. I was peeling apples for a pie I didn't really need, just liked the smell of cinnamon in a quiet house. She said, "Mama, pack a little bag. We're going on a trip." Just like that, light and casual, like a door swinging open. I remember the way my hand froze on the apple peeler, the way my heart did that childish thing it still does sometimes, a small leap, a hopeful skip, the kind that shocks you because you forgot it could still happen. I pressed the phone to my ear like it might hold her closer, and I said, "A trip where, honey?" She laughed softly. "Don't ask questions. Just pack light. We'll be back before you know it." Pack light. The words had silk on them. Sweet, slippery. I heard what I wanted to hear. I heard my daughter remembered me. I heard she wanted me. For a weekend, maybe. 2 days of being somebody's mother instead of furniture. That once lived in the corner of her childhood, so I did what mothers do. I believed. I went into my room and pulled out my best blouse, not my church blouse with the pearl buttons, but the soft sky blue one Marcus liked because it made my eyes look alive. I folded 2 outfits. I tucked my Bible in the side pocket of my overnight bag. I wrapped the gold brooch Marcus gave me for our 30th anniversary in a handkerchief and slid it into a little jewelry case. For no reason at all, I slid in an old photo of Tamara when she was 5, missing teeth, pigtails, that crooked grin that used to gap the world open for me. I don't know why I packed that picture, maybe because I wanted to be near the version of her that still knew how to run into my arms. The house was quiet while I packed. The kind of quiet that has weight. Marcus used to fill silence by whistling in the hallway, or letting the radio hum low while he fixed something that didn't need fixing. After he left this world, the house learned how to hold its breath. It became a museum of little sounds. The kettle click, the fridge motor, the tick of the clock by the stove. I looked around at what Marcus and I had built with our own hands. Every nail in those walls felt like a sentence spoken in love. I thought, maybe this trip is a turning, maybe a bend back toward each other. Maybe my only child has found her way home for a breath. She pulled up in a black SUV I had never seen before, shiny as a beetle in the sun. The kind of car you don't buy on a whim. Not with the job she told me she had. Her windows were tinted so dark I couldn't see her until she rolled one down halfway. She beeped twice. Didn't get out, didn't walk to my porch the way she used to, shouting "Mama," before she even hit the steps. She just sat there behind the wheel, sunglasses too big for her face, hair slicked back tight like a helmet. When I opened the passenger door, she flashed a smile that made her mouth move but not her eyes. It was the kind of smile people wear at funerals when they've run out of sympathy but they still want you to think they tried. "Ready?" she asked. I laughed a little. "Too bright. I've been ready, girl. Where are we going?" "It's a surprise," she said, already looking past me. "Just ride, Mama." So I rode. For the first 10 minutes I watched her hands on the wheel. She tapped her nails in a nervous rhythm. Tap tap tap, pause, tap tap like a restless metronome. She didn't play music. She didn't ask me if I was comfortable. She smelled like perfume I didn't recognize, a sweet burn that clung to the air after she moved. I tried to fill the silence with small questions. How work was going. If she'd been eating right. If that cough she used to get every winter still bothered her. She answered in thin pieces, not full sentences, like she was trying not to spill something. After an hour, I asked again, "Baby, are we going toward the lake? Toward the mountains? Somewhere peaceful?" She said fast. "You need rest. You've been stressed." Stressed? I almost smiled. The way children use words like shields. I had been tired. Sure, my knees complained sometimes. The stairs felt steeper than they used to. But stressed. I was not a teacup about to shatter. I was a woman who survived 3 decades without Marcus. A woman who held this life together with her own hands when grief was trying to pry my fingers open. Still, I nodded. Because that's what mothers do. We nod. Even when the story feels wrong in our mouth. We drove another hour. The highway flattened into long stretches of nothing. I watched fields scroll by, then warehouses, then a strip of small trees that looked tired. My gut started to tighten. I felt something old and animal awaken behind my ribs. A warning, a cold finger tracing my spine. But I swallowed it down. I told myself not to borrow trouble. That women my age have been wrong before. That my daughter was just busier now, and maybe this was her awkward way of showing love. Then we exited onto a smaller road, and I saw the sign before I saw the building. Pine Hill Assisted Living. The letters were faded green on beige. like they'd been washed too many times. The place sat low and wide, squat as a tired animal, brick the color of old oatmeal. The windows were narrow, the lawn was clipped to neat, as if somebody was trying to make the place look gentle by trimming the truth. Tamara parked right in front of the sliding doors. She got out without a word. I didn't move. My heart slid down into my stomach so hard I felt nausea bloom behind my tongue. She opened my door and reached for my bag. "Tamara," I said. My voice sounded far away. "Honey, what is this?" She didn't look at me. "Let's just go inside. Just for a little bit. Is this a nursing home?" She kept walking, quick, like she was late for something important. Inside, the air smelled like bleach and boiled cabbage, like something trying too hard to be clean and failing anyway. A television flickered in the corner with the volume low. A man in a wheelchair stared at it with eyes that seemed to be somewhere else. A nurse in scrubs pushed a cart of pills down the hall, her shoes squeaking on the floor like little warnings. I stood in the lobby and the floor felt unsteady. A woman at the front desk looked up and smiled as if we were arriving at a hotel. "You must be Evelyn Mayfield," she said. "We've got everything ready." Ready. Tamara dropped a manila envelope on the counter. "All the paperwork is in there." The word paperwork hit me like a slap. "What paperwork?" I asked. Tamara let out a small sigh that was tired in the wrong way, like she'd already rehearsed being annoyed with me. "Mama, you've been forgetting things. You left the stove on last week. You got lost at the grocery store. You need help." "I didn't get lost," I said, too quickly. "I was reading labels." "You were crying in the parking lot." "That was one time." "You left a burner on with a towel nearby." "A power surge flipped the light," I whispered. "You know that." She turned to the nurse like I wasn't standing there. "She gets confused sometimes." The world tilted. There is a kind of betrayal that doesn't scream right away. It doesn't explode. It goes quiet first. It goes still. Like your soul is waiting to see if this is really happening. I grabbed the counter edge because my knees were folding. "I don't want to stay here," I said. The words came out small, like a child confessing fear. Tamara checked her watch. Still didn't look at me. "It's temporary until you're stable." Stable, like I was a shelf about to collapse. Like I was a horse with a broken leg. Like I was a problem that needed storing. "Baby, you said this was a trip." My voice cracked on trip. "You said we were going somewhere." She pulled her car keys from her pocket. "Mama, don't make this harder than it has to be. They'll take care of you." "I have to go." "Go where?" "Work." I took one step after her. "Tamara, you're my only child." She paused at the doorway, face turned halfway, not fully toward me. "Exactly," she said, and then she left. The sliding doors whooshed shut behind her. A clean, quiet sound. Like this place had swallowed her lie and moved on. A woman I'd never met took my bag and steered me down a hall. I walked like a person underwater. My room had plastic flowers on the dresser and a window that didn't open. The sheets were thin. The television across the hall played a show with canned laughter that sounded like ghosts. That first night, I lay on the bed and stared at the ceiling tiles, each one a tiny square of nowhere. I pressed Marcus's brooch into my palm until the edges hurt. I cried in a way I hadn't cried since he was lowered into the ground. It wasn't just sadness. It was the kind of grief that has teeth. Because death is final. Death says, "This is what it is, and you must carry it." Betrayal lingers. Betrayal circles your life like smoke. I thought about the years I worked double shifts so Tamara could dance. The nights I stayed up sewing costumes, stitching sequins on cheap fabric until the dawn crawled in. The meals I skipped so she could eat seconds. The bracelet I bought her with rent money because she got her first job and I wanted her to feel celebrated, not poor. I thought about every sacrifice I swallowed quietly because mothers don't keep score. We don't say, "Look what I did." We just do it, and then I realized something in the thin dark of that room. She didn't leave me there because she was overwhelmed. She left me because it was easier to forget me, easier to claim the house, easier to live without the inconvenience of a living mother. I cried until morning, and then something in me went bone still, like a fire going quiet before it grows teeth of its own. The next day, I didn't eat. I didn't speak. I waited for her to come back with an explanation that could lift the weight off my chest. On the second day I waited by the window. On the third, I called her. Straight to voicemail. On the fourth I called again. Disconnected. By the fifth I understood she had cut me off completely, as neatly as she'd cut up that manila envelope. I was a ghost she had already decided to grieve. By the sixth day I didn't care about the mirror. I let my hair stay wild. I let the sheets snarl around me like vines. There's a kind of surrender that looks like sleep, but isn't. It's just your body taking cover while your spirit bleeds. On the 7th night, a nurse walked in younger than my daughter, tired eyes under soft light. She didn't talk first. She just sat beside my bed like she wasn't afraid of silence. "You've been here a week," she said quietly. "Haven't eaten?" "Barely moved." I stared at the wall. "My name's Carla," she went on. "Night shift. I've seen a lot of mamas like you." She let that hang. "Too many." I didn't turn, but I listened. She leaned forward, elbows on her knees. "You think you're the only one this happened to? You think you're the only woman who packed a bag thinking she was going on a weekend somewhere, and got dropped off here instead?" My breath caught, because no one had said the truth out loud yet, not to my face. "They always say the same thing," Carla said. "Just a trip, just a checkup. Then they leave and don't come back, like you never raised them." I turned my head, really looked at her. Her eyes weren't pitying. They were angry on my behalf. The good kind of angry, the kind that says you deserved better. "You're not crazy," she said. "You're not weak. You're hurt. And you've got every right to be." My throat was dry as dust. "What am I supposed to do?" I croaked. "Fight," she said. Simple as that. Like it was a choice I'd forgotten I still had. "And how?" I whispered. "I don't even know where to begin." She reached into her pocket and slid a folded paper onto my tray, right beside the untouched oatmeal. "That's a name. Brenda Holloway. Lawyer. She got my aunt out when her son pulled this same mess. Took her house, her pension, everything. Brenda made sure he never touched a dime again." I stared at the paper like it was a match I didn't dare strike. Carla stood. "You can sit here and wait for your daughter to remember she has a mother, or you can hold on to your name with both hands and pull yourself back into your life. But don't ever say nobody tried to help you." She left me there with the paper breathing on the tray. That night I didn't sleep. I sat in the chair by the window and rolled that name over my tongue like a prayer. Brenda Holloway. Brenda Holloway. Outside, a street light spilled weak amber over the empty parking lot. Somewhere down the hall a woman cried in her sleep. I held the paper until my fingers stopped shaking. At dawn, I washed my face. I brushed my hair. I put on my slippers, like armor. When the front desk brought me a cordless phone, my hands trembled, not from fear now, but from something waking up. The line rang 3 times. "This is Brenda Holloway." A woman's voice said. Calm, crisp, like a door made of steel. I swallowed. "My name is Evelyn Mayfield. I was put in a nursing home by my daughter without my permission. She told me we were going on a trip. I don't want to be here." A pause. "Not the kind that judges you, the kind that makes space." "Tell me everything," she said. So I did. I told her about the drive, the sign, the bleach smell, the envelope, the way my daughter looked through me instead of at me. When I finished, my voice was shaking. Brenda didn't sound shocked. She sounded ready. "I'll be there tomorrow," she said. "We start with revoking anything she's touching and freezing your accounts. You're not alone in this. We're taking your life back." When I hung up, I sat very still. The room was the same, the plastic flowers, the trapped window, but inside me something had shifted. A door unlocked. Carla peeked in later that night. I didn't speak. I just lifted the paper with Brenda's name. Carla smiled. "Good," she said softly. "That's good. It didn't erase the hurt. It didn't put my daughter back where she belonged. But it gave me a path. And sometimes a path is the first mercy." The next day Brenda arrived before noon in a navy pantsuit and a posture that said storms move around her, not through her. She was shorter than I expected, with salt and pepper coils pulled back neat, eyes sharp as a tack. She walked into my room like she already owned the truth. "You look better than I imagined," she said. "Most folks I meet in your situation are still sedated or silenced." I lifted a brow. "I've been both. Just not today." She nodded once, like that was exactly the answer she wanted. Then she opened a folder thick as a Bible. "Here's what I already know," she said. 2 months ago, your daughter filed for medical power of attorney, claimed early cognitive decline, used one doctor's note and a pharmacy receipt to make it look official." I felt heat climb behind my eyes. "That's a lie." "I know," she said. She listed herself as next of kin and started moving to liquidate assets, starting with your house. My stomach twisted. She tried to sell it. Verbal agreement went through. Paperwork was moving. We froze it in time. Frozen, like my whole life had turned to ice the moment that SUV door clicked shut. Brenda's voice didn't soften. "Your pension is being rerouted into your personal account. The signatures she submitted don't match your records. We're voiding everything." I stared down at the brooch in my lap. I trusted her. Trust makes good people vulnerable, Brenda said. Predators count on that. And let me be clear, what she did wasn't a mistake. It was strategy. Strategy. The word hurt because it was true. My daughter hadn't stumbled into this. She had planned it, like a thief moving through a house in socks. Brenda slid a notepad across to me with a pen. Write down everything. Dates, conversations. Anyone who saw her pack your bags. Anyone who heard her say just a trip. Every detail matters. My fingers were trembling, but it wasn't fear anymore. It was the beginning of something strong. A pulse under the skin. I wrote. The date she called. The tone she used. The way she said pack light like she was doing me a favor. I wrote until my hand cramped. When Brenda left that day, the sun looked different through the nursing home window. Not kinder, just clearer, like my eyes could focus again. Over the next weeks, I walked the halls. I ate. I made calls to old friends. I watched the way some residents stayed slumped in their chairs forever, waiting on children who never came. And every time I saw that waiting, it lit a cold resolve in me, because I had waited long enough. Tamara thought time would make me soft, thought she could bury me under paperwork and fluorescent lights until I forgot the outline of my own life. But I remembered. And when Brenda called to say the judge had approved my immediate release, I didn't cry, I didn't shake, I simply closed my eyes and let the air fill my lungs like a lesson. The morning we left, Brenda pulled up in a dark sedan, right on time. She opened the passenger door like I was somebody worth respect. I got in with my spine straight. As we drove away from Pine Hill, I looked back once, not in sadness, in understanding. That building hadn't broken me, but it had shown me what my daughter was willing to do when she thought I was too tired to fight. We reached my neighborhood on a bright afternoon. The trees were still there, the sidewalks still cracked in the same places. And my house stood like it had been holding its breath too. A for sale sign leaned against my porch, not planted, just tossed there like a cheap threat. Brenda turned off the engine. It's yours again, she said, legally and spiritually. I walked up the steps slow, steady. I slid my key into the lock and turned it. The door opened with that familiar creak that used to annoy Tamara when she was a teenager and running late. Inside smelled like dust and home. The furniture was still there. Marcus's chair. The photo of Tamara in her cap and gown, still tilted on the shelf. For a second I felt my heart pinch, mourning and relief braided together. On the counter sat another letter. Her handwriting. I didn't rush. I opened it like you open a wound you already know by shape. Sorry if things got messy. I was only trying to help. Let's talk. No apology. No truth. Just a lie dressed like mercy. I folded the paper, walked to the fireplace, lit a match. Watched her words curl and blacken and turn to ash. The smoke rose in soft spirals, and I thought, that's what her version of love is now. Something that burns when you hold it too close. That night, I moved through my rooms without turning on lights, letting the sunset lay long stripes on the floor. Dust drifted in the beams like memory. I touched the walls, the counters, the doorknobs, not because they needed cleaning, but because they needed my hand back on them, to remind the house and myself that I was still here. Weeks later, Brenda called. Tamara had tried to pay for a condo with my pension withdrawals. The down payment was flagged. Accounts frozen. Investigation opened. She had moved out of wherever she was and was couch surfing with friends now. I didn't celebrate. But I didn't feel sorry either. I understood something I wish I'd learned gentler. When someone throws you away, they deserve to feel the shape of that cold. When the court date came, Tamara didn't show. No lawyer, no statement. Just an empty chair staring back at me like an admission. The judge looked through our file and said the words like a gavel landing on my chest in the best way. False pretenses, forged documentation, abuse of power. He voided everything, stripped her of rights to my estate, my money, my medical decisions, issued a protective order. My name, my life, returned fully into my own hands. Outside the courthouse, the sun hit my face and I closed my eyes, not to block it, to take it in, to remember the warmth of belonging to myself. Back home I brewed tea and opened the windows. The breeze carried magnolia and cut grass, and for a breath I could almost hear Marcus humming in the hallway. I sat at the table and wrote a new will, not the legal one Brenda filed, but the one my soul needed. I left my wedding band to Carla. She had cared for me with more honesty than blood. I left my journals to Brenda. She had helped me find my voice in a place designed to take it. I left my house to the Literacy Foundation Marcus and I supported because a house is more than walls. It's a story. And stories deserve to live where kindness lives. And for Tamara, I left a note, folded small, tucked into the back of my old Bible where she would never look unless she finally learned how to pray with a clean heart. You taught me what love isn't. That was the last lesson I needed. That night I turned off the lights and stood in the middle of my kitchen, listening to the refrigerator hum and the clock tick. Normal sounds, peaceful sounds, proof of survival. Some things never come back. The innocence, the easy trust, the girl in pigtails from that old photograph. But I got back the one thing she thought was already gone. I got myself, and when you reach 70-something, you learn that a person who still owns herself owns the whole world, even if she lives quietly, even if the house is small, even if the people who should have loved her forgot how. Outside, the wind moved through the trees like an old hymn. I lit a candle beside Marcus's picture and whispered, "I'm all right now." The flame trembled, not from fear, from life.